everyone. This is Lindsay with Unfiltered Caregiver, and I'm with Caro Madrid.
Good morning, everyone.
This is a new podcast talking about the good, the bad, things you need to know with home health. We're here to educate you, have some fun, etc., etc. Our first topic today is going to be about a family that we helped and how things kind of started off kind of shady, but went into a wonderful story. So I'm going to start it off. We're not going to mention the people's names. The guy's name we're going to say is Bob, and the woman's name we're going to say is Suzanne. Caro was the head caregiver.
Yes, I was in charge of Bob. I met him with Susie, and thanks to Lindsay, I was able to be placed with that family.
So this is how it kind of started out. So I got a phone call from the woman, Suzanne, talking about a friend that was in his late 90s that had dementia and that had called hospice on himself. So someone that has dementia is calling hospice on themselves, that's already a red flag. So she hired my company, Finding Home Care, and we kind of swooped in. He was very turned off by many other caregivers, but I knew I had the best one right here, Caro Madrid. Basically, the first day she met Bob, he fell in love with her and gave her a key to his place. You want to talk about like what happened kind of?
So I went in, thanks to Lindsay, like I said. I met Bob, I met Susie, and as soon as I introduced myself to Bob, he was very calm because to what I was told that he didn't want no caregivers. He would click everybody out. He just didn't want the help. He was very independent. He didn't have no family. All he had was his best friend, Susie, to take care of him, who was in charge of him and his trustee. So I was hectic. It was scary to go in, but as soon as I went in, he started talking to me. He made me feel, warm.
Like part of the family, actually.
Yeah.
Like part of the family.
It was nothing to what everybody had else spoke about him. So that was amazing. I started right the next day. His house was not in living conditions.
It was bad, dude. It was pretty trashed. He was living in kind of like soiled clothes. There was dirt everywhere. He hadn't taken a shower in a long time, dirty briefs. And this man was very, very smart, guys. Like what did he do for a living?
So he did history, museums. He had a lot of antiques. He was a very smart man.
He was really, really smart. He was very, very educated. But once again, this guy had dementia and by himself called hospice on himself. And the red flag was the hospice company that did come in should have called Susie, who was the point of contact and the power of attorney, because they should have noticed, hey, this man does not have his wits with him. He has dementia and he's calling hospice on himself. So that was a really, really big flag. I want to just state once again. But my company was able to swoop in. Caro was able to swoop in. He still did have hospice, but we were able to basically be the full-time care for this man. Some really good things happened. And, caregivers, I want to mention, can become like a part of somebody's family. And you can say what happened.
So hospice was not on top of his care. One of the main reasons was because he was kicking everybody out of the house. He just didn't want the nurses there. He didn't want hospice there. The way they were treating him, just going in and saying they were there for a full hour when they were there just for 5 minutes, in and out, and that was very upsetting. They weren't in charge of his medication. They weren't on top of his care, not bathing him. If he would say no, they would just say no, leave him. And I was able to convince him to start taking showers at least twice a week. I was managing his medication. So it was nice to have that trust from him and be able to have him take showers and his hygiene and wash his
meals. You got clothes from you made him meals. You went grocery shopping. I want to educate people with something on hospice. So when someone's in hospice, normally that's towards the end of life. It's different than palliative care. Palliative care, you can be on palliative care for a year to years. And that's someone that's just like, maybe has a disease, an ailment that they could die, but they're not going to be dying in 4 to 6 weeks or 2 months. But hospice only comes and takes like vitals, can do a bed bath. They're not there to do grocery shopping, meal prep, light housekeeping, companionship. So when somebody is on hospice, do your due diligence. If if you're not able to be with your loved one, if you're working a 9 to 5 job, if you're in another part of the state or the country, they need that extra one-on-one care because hospice does not provide that. And that's why I knew Caro would be such an excellent caregiver. She had been with me for a while. Every family like fell in love with her. She became part of their family. And she gave this guy dignity while he was dying. And that's so important because, like I said, when we first came into the job, there was no dignity. The hospice company didn't really even care about him. Like she said, they came in for 4 to 5 minutes, took the trash out, tried to sneak out, probably didn't even feed him a meal, left him in like a sense of duress. You know what I mean? And it's just like she swooped in, we swooped in, and she became part of the family. She was there when he died.
Yeah, the worst part was that hospice was trying to scare Susie by threatening her to call
They were basically calling like, they were gonna call, CPS and this and that, and like the police stating that,
he was not in good
he wasn't in good
condition.
condition and this and that. But, this story turned out good because once again, he had hired hospice. His mind was not there. Caro came in. She stayed with him until he died. He loved her. It was part of the family.
I started going in a few times a day, every week, to full-time 24 care until he passed. It was sad because I think he's one of the first patients that I have or clients that does not want to leave. He really fought. He didn't want to leave, but
he wanted to live, but he was in his late 90s. And I think Caro actually gave him a few extra months of life with happiness, with dignity. So these are some stories that, my company has provided, caregivers with that they've come in to maybe a bad situation, but turned it around. Susie, who we're using that name with, still keeps in touch with Caro. She's become part of Susie's family. They've done things for her family, and I'm not going to say what they are, but put it this way, they're wonderful things that they've done. They've kept in touch. And I think that's the most important part when you're taking care of somebody. You're not just going to a 9 to 5 job at 24/7. You're becoming part of that family. You're empathetic. You are taking care of that loved one. You are keeping them alive. So that's just so important when you are hiring a caregiver, I think, is to make sure that when you're looking for a caregiver on Google, you do your due diligence. You look at the reviews. You make sure that that company doesn't have reviews just from caregivers, but they have reviews from past families that have used your services and maybe that have referred you, off to other families or other friends. Anyway, this was a good story that went from kind of south to north. Anyway, my name is Lindsay. This is Caro, one of my best caregivers. We're going to be doing this podcast called Unfiltered Caregiver, and my company is called findinghomecare.net. Finding Home Care
amazing,
LLC.
guys.
I am amazing. No.
She truly cares about your families and your needs.
And I care about my caregivers. So it's not just one-sided. I'm a huge advocate for caregivers. I'm a huge advocate for families. And I love to navigate people in the home health care arena. So anyway, Finding Home Care, over 135 5-star reviews. Can't wait to hear what's next on our new podcast. Take care.
Bye, guys. Until next time.